Y'all like technical details? Because in this video, we got some technical details. Make sure you stay tuned, and we're going to be diving into the graphics and the game engine of SnowRunner. Now, in a recent developer blog post, they went in depth with the graphics and the game engine that powers SnowRunner. Now, along with that, they released a variety of different really high-quality screenshots as well, and not only are we going to be going over all of those, but I'm going to be breaking down what they said in this blog post and also kind of giving you guys my own opinions about it and asking what y'all's thoughts are as well. Now, one of the very first things we see them talk about or see them touch on is the sense of size and sense of scope on these maps, because they are tremendously huge compared to that of MudRunner. Now, if we read the first part of this blog post here, it says, our first goal was to make the terrain in SnowRunner bigger and better. They say, first, we increased the maximum area of the map to 2 by 2 kilometers, which is much bigger than MudRunner, because MudRunner was 1 by 1 kilometers. Now, they say they've also improved the terrain mesh resolution and also dramatically increased view distance and added far plane objects to improve the map's sense of size. Now, with all that being said, I'm sure that a lot of that stuff will be much more apparent on a higher powered system as opposed to someone that's running the game on, let's say, maybe moderate to medium settings. Those, and definitely somebody that's running it on low settings, the game will probably, I'm expecting SnowRunner on medium to moderate settings to probably look a lot like MudRunner, but in order to really see a lot of these high-end visual details, you'll have to be running them on the highest, or you'll have to be running the game on the highest settings, which is to be expected. They also then went on to say that they still saw a lot of room for improvement. They said, we increased the number of terrain texture layers from 2 to 4 and added a special snow layer where we blended 4 additional normal maps to create a great looking snow surface, which I gotta be honest with you guys, the snow does look really, really good, and I really like the way the vehicles sort of blend into it, and I really like the way it blends with the mud. They've also said a new special snow shader helped to improve the overall look of the snow surface, complementing the improvements and additions to the physics engine. One of the other things that they touched on a lot in this blog post was information about physical-based rendering, and they then went on to refer to it throughout the entire rest of the blog post as PBR, so just know, in order to follow along, that that is what PBR stands for. So, they said all the assets in the game were created using PBR materials, so that all material shaders were re-implemented and lighting ranges were adjusted to work well within the physical-based rendering model. They said also correct HDR effect with filmic tone mapping and modern bloom was added to work well with the extended lighting ranges and physical-based rendering materials. So a lot of technical speak in there, especially for you guys that know a lot about 3D modeling or 3D rendering. If that is something that you are experienced in, you'll definitely know a lot more about that than most. You'll definitely know a lot more about that than me. But to me, it seems like all these things that they're saying, I read them and I go, cool. So the game is gonna look a lot better and feel a lot better when it comes out. Great. Now, if you're a big fan of realistic lighting effects, then this next portion will actually really be interesting to you, because they said, as you remember from the previous game, only vehicles had dynamic shadows, whereas all other objects used light map-based shadows. Whereas they said in SnowRunner, they're introducing shadow map shadows for all objects around the camera, and they show a really, really interesting screenshot here of all the shadows coming off of the trees and sort of like the reeds and plants and small saplings and weeds around the truck and sort of around this little path that they're driving through. So that not only is a really, really interesting detail to see, but it's also a really, really refreshing detail to see, because I'm always about realistic lighting effects. Realistic lighting effects go so far in terms of immersion, and I think that that's amazing that they're putting some focus onto that. Now, in this next part, if you like a lot of terminology and a lot of acronyms, get ready, because we're about to drop a lot of terminology and a lot of acronyms. So with that being said, they said having proper anti-aliasing is considered the de facto standard for every AAA game nowadays. And they said previously the franchise featured the fast approximate anti-aliasing filter, or FXAA, which they said since it's a post-processing effect, it's unable to remove shimmering in motion, which is especially noticeable on foliage like trees and bushes and things like that. Now, basically, they've implemented temporal anti-aliasing, and they've also implemented multi-sample anti-aliasing, and I'm not going to go into full detail on what all of that means, because that's kind of a little bit more technical, but with that being said, they said they also added, let's see, contrast adaptive sharpening from AMD's Fidelity FX package, which, again, they say here it's for gamers with powerful PCs who prefer raw, sharp visuals, multi-sample anti-aliasing, and a bunch of other different things. But they also said that fast approximate anti-aliasing is still available and can now be used in combination with temporal anti-aliasing or multi-sample anti-aliasing. So a lot going on there, but if you're a bit of a graphics geek, then that should definitely be an interesting set of details for you to digest. And I'll leave a link down in the description box below to where you guys can check out this full blog post in its entirety and really read it. But with all of that being said, these are the points that I'm kind of considering the most interesting, and if you have any more that you're curious about, I'm sure that it will be, it'll be covered in the blog post itself. But again, with that being said, I would love to know what you guys are most excited about so far. Now, on to what I personally think is the best shot from this entire screenshot release, the best screenshot from this entire blog post, just everything all in. This shot right here is absolutely tremendous. It's wild. It shows you looking over the edge of a mountain across an immense landscape that really, the draw distance is insane. And I mean, I'm sure there are going to be people that are going to be like, well, you can see with the fog out there, that's probably because they can't render that far, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I think the fog out in the distance really does a good job of making everything feel believable while kind of convincing the player that you can see a long way, but without feeling like you're stressing out your system, if that makes sense. So with that being said, I think that's probably what they had to do for the consoles, because even though there are higher powered PCs that can push the game further than the consoles can, they have to sort of build the game to that console standard in a way. I'm sure there are areas where the PC version will be able to push itself past the console version, of course, but I feel like they were probably limited in some ways. They also did say that in the first game, atmospheric effects played a big role in setting the proper mood in the game, and they said recognizing the importance of weather in this game, they implemented a new weather system, improved the skyboxes, added clouds and light shafts, improved the rain effects, and added a snow effect as well. So you're going to have rain, you're going to have snow, you're going to have all that stuff, all of the weather stuff that you guys have been asking about and wondering about. Basically, there's your confirmation right there. Now, swiftly moving on into the next portion of this post, they also said in order to support large levels with dense vegetation, they updated their vegetation rendering system, updated the level of detail for trees and grass, and introduced advanced billboards that look indistinguishable from real trees at a very close distance. They also said they redid all vegetation assets in the game to take advantage of the new shading and vegetation rendering system. So next up, they said there were also a few technical changes done for consoles and PC. They said they implemented texture streaming to support high-resolution textures up to 4K. And then they also said on consoles, they added a dynamic resolution scale algorithm to balance GPU load with render resolution. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And then they said we hope you find this deep dive into the engine of SnowRunner interesting. And then they said they look forward to everybody getting their hands on it on April 28th. So I, for one, really do appreciate the fact that they put this out there. I really do appreciate the fact that they were willing to go into such detail with everything. And if you are curious and want to read it yourself, I'll leave a link to it down in the description box below. But if you are keeping up with the SnowRunner news on this channel, then let me know down below not only what system you're going to play it on, but if you're going to be playing it on PC, if you think your PC will be up to the task of running it on max settings, or if you think you'll have to dial those settings back a little bit. I'm very curious to know, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that play MudRunner, for example, on a laptop, not a desktop, but the laptop runs it fine on max settings, and they can record it, they can stream it, they can do whatever with it. So with all that being said, I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video and you would like to stay up to date with everything SnowRunner related, then do hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you never miss a video when it goes live. So again, hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.